Peace.
Peace.
This is Jahshamel, LaLa, Mr. PhD. You're just now entering the cipher called Real2reel360. KYs.
Peacegod.
Bring that beat in, kid.
Indeed.
Peace.
Yeah. What's going on, party people? Welcome to the Real2reel360 show. Let's get it in.
We do the knowledge and wisdom so you can understand. Real360 shows in full command. We changing the game for how it all was taught. From bondage to freedom to an independent thought. Yo, the show is here to bring about a change for real. To lighten everyone so we all know the deal. 360 degrees is a fact. We created the show to give our love back to our communities so we can know what's going on and give them the support from knowledge to born. So if you're ready to learn, then it's time to go. Sit back and relax and enjoy your show. Peace.
Peace and blessings. What's good, party people? It's your man, DJ KYs, a.k.a. Kato, the Black Superhero. First of all, big shout out to the nation of gods and nerds, to Allah's mighty 5%. We want to make sure we give everybody love, peace, and happiness. So a high salute to all the human families on the planet Earth. Well, we've been waiting on this one, and I'm definitely anticipating. So believe me, when I say grab your pen and papers, you might want to grab your cameras too. But I'm just going to bring on my co-host with the most. Let's get it in, Jahshamel, LaLa, a.k.a. Mr. PhD. It's time. It's groundbreaking, baby. What's good, God?
Peace to Allah's 5%. Peace to all our followers and listeners. Make sure that you're liking and subscribing that YouTube page. Also, too, I want to say may peace be upon my brother El Wise. He just returned, and then also Rashard's son from returning. We're losing a lot of great brothers, man, and it's always, we keep them with us and everything else. So it's always love, peace, and happiness. But today's episode is an adult-only episode. I want y'all to understand that there's going to be some things said on this show today that you're not used to hearing. But today, this young lady speaks about bedtime tales, sexual freedom, things of that nature. So I just want to bring her on and let her introduce herself, and let's get it rocking. Ladies and gentlemen, one and only Miss LaLa. How you doing today?
I am good. How are you guys?
We are good.
I'll tell you, this show today has been like nervous. We've been really nervous.
Why?
We've been really nervous because we have been, following you on other social media platforms, and we've been watching some of the conversations, some of the dialogue, and it was very interesting. But for those of our followers and listeners who have not had the opportunity to listen or see any of your content, please allow them an opportunity now to see and hear from out of your mouth. Just introduce yourself, and we can go from there.
So I'm LaLa. I'm the founder of LaLa's Bedtime Tales, and it's a sexual wellness brand, and I offer education with entertainment when it comes to sexual health and wellness. And basically, I have a sexual wellness blog where I work with medical professionals to provide sexual health education and women's reproductive health information, as well as I work with licensed therapists and sexual health experts to write love and sex advice. And then I like to write erotic stories, and I tell them on my podcast. And that's connected because it has mental health and sexual health benefits. It can also help spice up your sex life with your partner or partners. And also, I decided to start this because I personally didn't always have a good relationship with sex or healthy relationships. And so I wanted to bring that information. And I definitely wanted to empower women to feel confident in their sexuality and their sexy, because sex should be a beautiful and enjoyable activity for everybody involved, and it should never be mentally or physically painful, and your sexual health is really connected to your physical and mental health. So I wanted to bring that to the forefront.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say peace to my sister Linda. Thank you for tuning in, Angela. Thank you for tuning in, and Facebook user, hey, and let's jump into it. Like you said that you have written some erotic books and things of that nature. What was really like your motivation for these erotic books? And things, because I saw some toys, I saw books and
Yeah.
things of that nature. So when it comes down to sexual health, how do that help the relationship when a
Yeah.
person?
So the sexual health benefits with erotica is that one, it normalizes sex for a lot of people. And then like for most people, like I know most people have read or heard of The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. And that was
Mhm,
one of their first sexual health educators.
mhm,
So the top thing that it does is often I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
mhm.
I'm sorry about that. My dog is getting excited because hauling. So it basically what it does is oftentimes women do a lot with sensory mapping to get aroused.
Uh-huh,
So women typically need to connect to all five senses.
mhm,
And in erotica, that typically helps women do that because it's more female based, written by females, and it focuses on female pleasure.
mhm,
And our biggest sex organ is our mind. And for
mhm,
women, based on studies by the Sexual Journal of Sexual Health Medicine, it's been proven that women typically visualize more in their mind and they connect to all their senses in order to become aroused. And then
mhm,
also too, it empowers women to feel more sexy when they can put themselves in the driver's seat as the protagonist in a book.
mhm,
And it gives them ideals to explore for sexual fantasies, kinks, and desires, and it makes it easier for them to talk about it with their partners. And there's also been a study that's shown that 74% of women who read erotica tend to have more sex because it improves their libido.
mhm, mhm. Okay. Um, I noticed that on some of your platforms, you display toys and things, sex
Yes.
toys. Okay. Now, how does that help in the relationship part of man and woman?
Yeah, so sex toys are a good tool for two reasons. It
Mhm,
helps just spice up the relationship if you've been in a long-term relationship. And then
mhm,
two, it also helps with the orgasm gap or the pleasure gap.
mhm,
So heterosexual cisgender men typically have a 96% rate of reaching orgasm during sex. However, women typically heterosexual cisgender women have about a 60%.
mhm,
So sex toys help bridge that gap,
mhm,
especially because a lot of them are, if you're using like clitoral stimulation toys,
mhm,
that actually helps as well. And then also too, what you have to take consideration as well as it takes men between 5 to 10 minutes to reach orgasm, and it can take women up between 20 to 40 minutes to reach orgasm. So
mhm,
you can introduce a toy in the bedroom and you can use that as a form of your foreplay to help women get started. Like, I know people hate the saying, but women are like cars, like you got to warm them up. And so sex toys can definitely help with that. And then also too, one of my favorite couples toys is a cock ring, and what that does, it helps men last longer, and it also provides women with clitoral stimulation if you get a vibrating cock ring. And that can increase the pleasure for both partners because it has the sensation from the vibration. It helps men last longer, and it provides women with the clitoral stimulation because majority of women, about 18.7% of women can orgasm from vaginal penetration, whereas about that almost 80% of women need clitoral stimulation. So
mhm.
toys can help with that as well.
Okay. Now, there are some of these products, right? Hey, family, because you see Lynn, right? So, hey,
Yes, I
fam.
love her.
Um, I see that like some women get this extra huge horse-like dildo.
Yeah, that's
Right?
crazy.
This is
I mean,
this
whatever
is
floats your boat, whatever floats your
right.
boat.
So, in comparison to the toys and things of that nature that you receive or that you get, how, you know what I mean? Like, what man wants to come behind that? Is it like that's
So I think for a lot of men, they get a little too caught up with that there's a competition aspect, but it's
uh-huh.
definitely not. Right? Like no one, you can't replace the intimacy that you get from a partner with a silicone toy.
Right.
Like there's the eye connection, there's, the emotional connection that goes with having sex. Like you're connecting with that partner. It's the aftercare. You don't get all of that from a sex toy. So most women will prefer to have sex with men versus a sex toy. However, sex toys aren't the enemy. They just hide in the pleasure in the sexual experience. So that's how it should be more so thought about. Like that's how that's how I would suggest it to like, oh, I love you too, Lynn. So that's how I would think about it. So I feel like oftentimes men get caught up. Like I've had men be like, "Oh, I feel like they'll get in the way," and no, they won't if you get the right toys for partner play or when you're having sex with a partner. So like, there's cock rings. There's this thing called the Satisfier that connects the two partners and is remote controllable, and it has it connects with like, so the partner puts it into the female and they put their penis on it and then it vibrates, and it also connects to the woman's clitoris so they get the clitoral stimulation and both of you feel the vibration sensation. So it's all about picking the correct toys for partner play. So I wouldn't suggest anyone bring in this huge dildo with their partner and be like, let's play with that, because the male isn't going to have as much enjoyment as if you go and pick out a partner toy specifically.
I don't know too many males that's gonna have pleasure with a horse dong anyway, but that's
Yeah.
you know.
And like oftentimes what you see in like pornography is really not what most people are doing in their bedroom most of the time. So that's important of like research and going to credible sources to see what works best for you and your partner.
Lynn has a question, and her question is: I know you talk about toys, but what toys would you suggest for beginners?
So for beginners, as far as just, I'm gonna say this from like for heterosexual cisgender women, if they're doing solo play, I would suggest a combination rabbit. So basically what that is it has the shaft and then it has a clitoral stimulation on it, and it has different vibration speeds. It's super simple. It's silicone. It's usually between a $40 and $50 range, and it's pretty straightforward. For first time toys for couples, I will suggest a vibrating cock ring with a mini bullet attached to the end. And
Okay. I gotta jump into it. Okay.
Please do.
Now, for the foremost, I want to ask this question. For the foremost, most toys that are designed are mainly for the pleasure for the woman to reach her moment more so than the average man. Am I right or wrong?
You aren't exactly correct because there are toys out there for men.
Okay.
So there's like the cock sleeve that you can use. So basically what that is that you can, so basically what that is like this tube that has kind of like the simulation of a vagina or a butthole, depending on what you're interested in. And you put your penis inside of it and it vibrates and it creates a suction motion. And you can use that as well. And then also too, cock rings also as well are a big thing that men can use one-on-one as like on their own as well. And actually they're a really good tool too for men who are trying to last longer as well. So you can play with that by yourself and it can help you last longer. So yeah.
Play with a silicone tube that's supposed to help a man last longer.
No, a cock ring will help a man last longer if they use it during masturbation. Yeah, because the cock ring, what it does, it allows for circulation flow, and so it'll help them. It'll help them stay engorged longer and last longer. And so, a part of what you can do as a man to last longer is practice edging during your masturbation time. So, what you do is you'll stroke yourself until you feel like you're about to orgasm, and then you practice edging, and then you pull back, and then that'll help you. And you can
Okay.
do that with the help of a cock ring by yourself during masturbation to help you kind of get better with your edging prior to you having sex with a partner, so you can understand and know when you're feeling like you're about to orgasm and when you need to hold back.
Okay. Now, when did you start feeling this sexual freedom or wanting to start exploring with different books and toys and things of that nature?
Okay, so my story, what happened with me basically was when I was younger, I experienced sexual trauma. And then when I was in high school, my boyfriend was what you would consider teen dating violence. He was very sexually and emotionally abusive. And
Mhm.
then during COVID, I got married and I realized trauma I didn't deal with prior to getting married came into my relationship. And so I
Mhm.
wanted to find a way to better heal. And then through my sexual healing journey, which I'm still going because, like a journey, it's dynamic, ever evolving. I wanted to help other women have the tools that I found along my way through my sexual healing.
Mm. Okay, I can see that. With I saw on some of your content that you spoke about different forms of sex and
Yes.
how individuals can be more open to it. Um, when you talk about oral, anal, things of that nature, what is the myth with oral and anal sex that you come across with the most?
So the biggest myth with anal sex is that it hurts. Anal sex should not hurt if you're using proper preparation and you're preparing yourself and you're using lots of communication. So that's a huge one. Anal sex should not hurt. If anal sex is hurting, then you're not doing it correctly. Whether it be you didn't use anal training kits like with butt plugs and stuff like that to stretch yourself out to get ready, not enough lubrication was utilized, or your partner didn't go slow enough upon entrance and wait, and there's just a lack of communication in that area. As far as oral sex is, everybody wants like the tricks and tips to be like quote unquote like a superhead or throat goat, but sex with anything is not one size fits all. So
Mhm.
once again, it's a communication aspect. Definitely talk to your partner about it to better see what they like, and you can talk to them about it throughout the process too, and that'll make it better. And then also too with men, as far as conolingus, which is them going down on a woman, one, there should be a scent, but it shouldn't be an off-putting scent. And so that's not necessarily true. Like women don't necessarily smell bad. And then also too, another thing is that you should use your hands, and you should use your, like, you can moan or make different noises for different vibrations, and you should use your mouth as well. But your hands, your mouth, there's multiple things that you can do. Like it's not necessarily more difficult or gross to go down on a woman as it is for a man. Like those are probably the major things
Um, okay. Um,
go ahead and say what you're thinking.
okay. Um, when say like you're into a threesome and things of that nature, is that part of now where is the myth with this the menages and the threesomes, the foursomes and all the rest of it?
That's so sorry. Angela Harris had a good point. Yes, that's true too. It is a myth that every man and woman enjoys or wants or likes oral sex. That's very true.
Right.
Everything is dependent on each individual person because, like I said, sex is one size fits all, and it's a personal journey for everybody.
Mhm. Right.
So, as far as a myth for menages and group sex, I don't. Well, one is that every man wants to have one. Um, so that is not true. And then two, I feel like something that a lot of men fantasize about having two women, but what you have to take in consideration is that you have to be able to please two women. So if you're struggling to please one woman,
Mhm.
you're probably not in the right spot to please two women at one time. So I feel like that also too. And then there's also a lot of pushback that people feel like a lot of women will feel like some type of way, like they're not satisfying their partner,
Mhm.
or anything like that, if someone wants to bring another person into the bedroom, and honestly, that's just could possibly be just fantasy. I definitely top tip about it that is just definitely communicate about it. Talk to the like pick out a list of kind of like what wants, and what you will do, and have those boundaries set when you're inviting someone into the bedroom. And inviting someone in your bedroom does not necessarily mean that it's going to destroy your relationship. Just depending on what you're interested in, and allowing people to fulfill that fantasy might actually bring you guys closer together. So yeah.
Okay. So uh with with that being said, your books that you've written and things of that nature, that helps with the foreplay, learning how to please your mate and things of that nature, or uh do it open the doors for other things.
So for me, mine is I like to create the fantasy and different stuff, but put elements into it that is realistic. So for instance, like what I've read in a lot of erotica books is there's a lot of like anal sex happening, but there's not a lot of proper prep for it. And so I feel like in my stories, what I do is I'll add in the education aspect, and like to use my stories to give people ideals of how to approach different situations when going into the bedroom, whether it be a fantasy, whether it be a kink, or whether it just be communication about getting tested for STIs or STDs or anything like that.
Okay. Now, with anal sex, I know when men talk about it, they always say like dudes have homosexual fantasies. Is that part of that process too?
So that is actually inaccurate. So the type of sex that you're interested in has nothing to do with your actual sexuality. So if you enjoy anal sex, or if you actually enjoy being pegged, because having someone insert a finger or a sex toy or something into your anus as a man, you have a pleasure spot back there called the prostate. And when pressed on it, for a lot of men, that does create more pleasure and a stronger orgasm. That does not mean that you are gay. So the type of sex that you enjoy in the bedroom does not necessarily equate to your sexuality. So you could be a heterosexual male and you can like butt play, whether it be someone sticking a finger up your butt during oral sex, or you could be the person that is penetrating during anal sex. That does not necessarily make you gay.
Okay. So you're saying that some men like to be what you called it, pegged and fingered?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you can enjoy yeah, you can enjoy having being pegged, which is having someone. Okay, so basically, a woman puts on a strap on and they have anal sex with the male. And what it does is it stimulates their prostate and allows them to have a stronger orgasm. And there are men who are heterosexual that enjoy that. And it has nothing to do with their sexuality, and it doesn't challenge their masculinity or whether or not they're heterosexual.
Oh, oh. Okay. Okay, you want to jump in?
The challenge of it is that a lot of it's mainly mind over matter when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
But now also too, we have to realize when it comes to anal sex, with what a lot of doctors who have been examining people who have had anal sex tell, there's a lot of ruptures that can take place in the anal canal.
Yes.
And the lining. So let's be real about that and saying that, to me, that's an exit only, not an enter by any domain.
And
I'm
that is
just being
definitely
100.
fair.
I'm just being 100 because what comes out is extractions of what's been taken in to cleanse, not the reverse cycle.
I mean, that's definitely fair to say too, but you can also use that's where you come in. If you use one, you shouldn't be having rough sex because that keeps you, if you're not having rough sex, that'll keep the fissures and the tears away. You should be using a condom, and you should definitely be using a lot of lubricant. And to say that's not something too that you, I'm sorry, and two, that's not something that you should engage in necessarily all the time because, like you said, it can lead to the fissures, the ruptures, and the tears. Correct. So yeah, so like I said, there's proper precautions. Definitely. So I definitely there's truth to exactly what you're saying. Right.
Now, what are the different kind of fetishes? Foot fetishes, butt fetishes,
So
uh,
yeah, so
piercings.
so the most common ones are body fluids is really common. So first it's foot fetishes, like that's the number one. Then
Mhm.
there's a nylon fetish and a shoe fetish, which that kind of goes hand in hand with the foot. But a really big one that always is shocking to me is body fluids. So like a lot of people like golden showers, which is like urination. A lot of men have breast milk. That's a very common, like they love breast milk. And then you get into a lot of other ones, which are like blood play and scat play as well, which are common, which there are people who truly enjoy that. And then also too, when you think about like kinks and stuff, so kinks are different from fetishes. But
Mhm.
so just to clarify this, so a kink is something that you enjoy to do that heightens the pleasure in the bedroom, whereas a fetish is something that you need to do during your sexual intercourse in order to reach climax or orgasm. So if you have a foot, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I know. I've also heard of people who are cutters that have enjoyed themselves while engaging in sex. They cut themselves and then
Yes.
having pleasure on themselves with the blood flow. You know,
Yes.
that
Yes.
I find totally way out the matter scale. But again, to each is their own.
Yes, and that definitely falls into blood play. You'll get a lot of
Mhm.
that as people who will cut themselves. But the main one that you pretty much see too is with fetishes is basically foot and like hosiery fetishes. Now when you go on the kink play, what you'll see a lot of is bondage and impact play. And impact play is like the spanking and the paddling and stuff like that. And a lot of people, when they think about kinks and stuff, they do a lot of like the BDSM, which is the dominant, submissive, as well as the bondage that really people get into a lot. And then also the flogging, the spanking, and stuff like that.
Now, with the bondage and what that's what they call S&M, right?
Yeah, so yeah, BDSM, yes.
Right. So, can you explain exactly what that form of fetish is?
So what people get off on a lot with the BDSM kink is that they enjoy the actual act of the dominant and submissive.
Mhm.
And so oftentimes too, it's basically a person who enjoys to take control in the bedroom, and then a submissive person is a person who doesn't want to have to really do anything but whatever their dominant tells them to do.
Mhm.
There's lots of different levels to it. It takes a lot of trust and communication for it to work. And then you get into the whole, and there's like this whole contract with it and an agreement. And what you'll hear in like kink and fetishes is like a scene. So what you have to look at is what's going to occur in the scene within that time frame of when you're doing having the actual sex, and then afterwards, you have to really focus on the aftercare as well, because that goes hand in hand with it for it to be an enjoyable act. So also too, what you'll see is there are some people who do BDSM 24/7, where it takes on their whole life, where they're submissive in every aspect, even outside of the bedroom, and they have a dominant. And then there are people who only specifically do it in the bedroom, and then that can also go into like non-sexual, non-con. So basically, you give someone the right, and there's always safe words. So safe words are important. So it's whatever you like want to say that you wouldn't typically say during sex. So, like for instance, a safe word could be pumpkin, which is something you might not say during sex, and that'll cut the scene and it'll end it. Or you can also do what most beginners do is a stop light system, which is green is go, yellow is slow down, wait, and then red is like the scene is over, stop. That person's uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And then you also want to have safe signs as well. So if your hands are tied or you can't speak or something like that, there's a way for you to communicate that you're not comfortable with what's going
Mhm.
on.
So,
So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so handcuffs, choking, the flogging, the whipping, and all of that stuff is part of that.
Mhm.
It can be part of it,
Yeah.
yes. It doesn't necessarily have to be. They're not mutually exclusive, but it
Hmm.
can be part of it. When you're
Yeah.
looking at BDSM, especially when you're looking more into like the dominant submissive, it's more so the pleasure people get out of either being the person in control with the power as the dominant, or the person just letting go and allowing someone to tell them, and them giving someone pleasure as being a subservient in a sexual setting.
Now, sexual health. We talk about there's different types of STIs and STDs that's going around.
Yes.
How can we be more sexually free when you have all these different STIs that's out there?
Yeah, so I'll just want to. So one thing I do want to say, so it's usually a misnomer that sexual health only is STIs and unintended pregnancies. So sexual health actually also encompasses pleasure and in there as well, and like the different types of sex that people like enjoy that might be seen as not normal, as well as also like sexuality as far as the LGBT plus community and all stuff like that. How you can be sexually free is by taking the proper precautions. Like when you go to your doctor, you should be talking about your sexual health. So you should be getting, if you're not as frequently sexually active, you can get STI tested once a year. And then if you are frequently sexually active, it can be between 3 to 6 months, depending. So as long as you are getting STI checks and making your sexual health part of the conversation with your doctor, then you can be sexually free. And also, too, that goes with that is having communication about the types of birth control and contraceptions that you're on, and also having the consent talk with your partner. Like I like to tell people all this, like you should be communicating with the person that you are about to be intimate with way before the clothes even come off. And you should talk about contraception, you should talk about consent, and you should be talking about did you get STI tested and stuff like that.
Now, when you're engaging in all these different sexual activities, and we know that men's sexual potency, goes up and it goes down as they get older, and women's goes up. So how do you prevent the ED for the man and the dryness for the woman? As you know, I don't know how to say it, but for a woman not to be as lubricated or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff out there. So what you're talking about is which we consider mismatched libido. And it's not just when you're mature or post childbearing age. This doesn't happen anytime in your life. And then also too, what people don't know is it's actually as common for women to have sexual dysfunction as it is for men with like their erectile dysfunction. Like women can suffer from like vaginismus, dyspareunia. They can suffer from orgasm disorder, stuff like that. So basically, there's definitely help out there as far as both men and women, depending on what it is. Just pelvic floor physical therapy that can help with any type of pain during sex that you might have. And then also too, when you're during menopause for women as well, there's tons of like there's hormonal therapy, hormonal replacement therapy that they can undergo. There's the O shot that can help with lubrication. There's different type of holistic vitamins that they can take, as well as there's different compounds like creams and oils that they can use for vaginal dryness. And then for men, of course, you have your I want to say it's the Sialysis, and then you have your Viagra. But then also too, that's also a time to help with the mismatched libido is when you can introduce the toys into the bedroom to help. So if you have a hard time staying erect for a long time, or if sex is painful for you, there are different things that you can do. Like outer course is a big thing as well. So foreplay can actually be the main course. Like it doesn't have to just be the warm up. Like there's oral sex that you can have. There's mutual masturbation. Like there's all types of different things. And so that's why too, when you think about sex, you should also think about the pleasure and the emotional connection that you get from intimacy, and not just chasing of the orgasm.
I want to go back. I got to go back because there was something she said, and I want to get a bit more clarification. I'm going back to when you said where a woman was strapped. Now, heterosexual. Let's go with the heterosexual couple. The woman's going to strap on, okay, and she's going to go ahead and get the backyard boogie to a man. Are you saying that that's going to be it helps him reach a more orgasm?
Yes, it can help them reach a more intense orgasm because it stimulates the prostate.
Okay, but how's he experiencing the orgasm outside when it's going inside from the backside? That's you understand what I'm saying? Because if you reach the orgasm, to me, orgasm is coming together with my mate, not coming outside, and then being hit from now. See, I'm visualizing all this, and it ain't, it ain't adding up to me mathematically. I'm just saying, I want to get this properly understand. A lot of people gonna be laughing, but I'm dead on it.
Okay, so also too, there are men who like to be in a submissive role, and there are women that like to be in a dominant role. So the male can get off from feeling pleasure of pleasing their mate in that situation, and then the prostate stimulation with the intimacy of pleasing their mate can help them have a stronger orgasm. Like you said in the beginning, it's mind over matter. So if you like to take on a submissive role, then that can be something that can help you please your partner if they're in a dominant role and that's a fantasy that they want to fulfill. And you're also being vulnerable. Like for a lot of men, they don't want anything near their butt. So they're giving over their trust and their vulnerability to that female to please them in a way that they might not necessarily typically do. And that can help offset that because of the vulnerability, the trust, and the emotional connection that way.
Now, for what some women can't orgasm through penetration, how do you, or how what do you do for that? Just bring a
Oh
toy
yeah.
in?
Well, actually, so that is actually most common for most women. Most women can't orgasm through penetration. So only like about 18.7% of women can actually orgasm through penetration. So for everyone, for most women, so the almost 80% that can't, it's through clitoral stimulation. And that doesn't even have to be toys. That can be hands, that can be your mouth, that can be just that can include toys, but yeah. Now if there's actually an issue where they've done the communication, they've tried to do the clitoral stimulation, they've gone through like seen a therapist and everything, and they still can't orgasm because of physiological issues, what they can do is they can go see a sexual wellness urogynecologist, and they can give them a compound called a scream cream, which will help stimulate that area, which is typically the G-spot area. Or they can also do the O shot, which is when they inject Botox into the clitoris, into the G spot, which can cause more sensation. And that can help women reach orgasm if it's a physiological issue.
Okay. So would you say majority of it is mental to most? Because for me, it's like in order to reach me in the physical, you first got to tap my mental, because
Yes.
because mental stimulation is going to be the best sexual explosion. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely. So it's mental and communication. Yes. So
Right.
because quite naturally, if you don't like, so the first thing they'll ask you is, do you like your partner? What is your relationship with your partner? If you don't like your partner, if you're having a lot of like outside the bedroom issues with your partner, or you're just experiencing a lot of stress, you're not going to be able to get out of your mind to experience that pleasure in the bedroom. So yes, definitely.
Yes, it's okay. We will bring her back on the show.
I love Miss Lynn. She's amazing.
Now, hold on. I want you to go back because I want to show this right here what Dr. Harris put up as far as saying the prostate is like the G spot. Stimulation of both will likely cause arousal and orgasm. Again, I say, Dr. Harris, how am I going to have my partner enjoy my orgasm if she's hitting me from the back and I can't get it in the front where it's supposed to go? All right. I'm sorry. That's just not, it does not add up in my equation. I understand the theory of it all, but the relatively is got to go 1 to 2 to make it a better understanding of connect the dots. I'm sorry. That's just me. I said I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm also pessimistic, and I'm sticking to what's good. This is great information. Is all what I'm saying is it truly is great information, because there are a lot of things that we don't explore and talk about when it comes to sexual mental with the sexual physical. Because a lot of people want to just go ahead and do the action, but don't want to take the time to find out what's going on up here, because they're so quick to just want to hop in and hop out like rabbits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
so
sure.
For the foremost of what you bring in, I'm loving it. And this is a definitely informative show, you know, outside of everybody else's comments. Listen, call in at 336-807-9299 right here on the Real2reel360. You are on the air with LaLa. I guarantee you she'll answer your questions one-on-one, or you can holler at us what you want to do. It don't matter. We are open for the questions. Let's go.
Right. Now, they always talk about squirting, women squirting, and every woman squirt, or what is actually squirt? Because some say that is urine and something else, but is what is actually squirting, and can every woman squirt?
So it is. So urine does play a role. It's a diluted urine because it comes from your skin gland, which is like a female version of the prostate. And so typically, they're not really sure whether or not every woman can squirt. So research is out on that, like not quite sure. However, women who do squirt, it's typically from G-spot stimulation. So typically, if you're a female and your G spot is being stimulated, if you ever have felt during sex like you needed to urinate, just keep going, and then you'll experience the squirt. So it's basically a female ejaculation. So yeah, so it does have some urine in it, but it's diluted. But most of it is a fluid, just another bodily fluid.
Okay, so normally, like when a woman goes to the bathroom prior to intercourse or whatever, that alleviates the opportunity for her to be able to squirt?
Not necessarily, no.
No.
And they do say that if you drink more water and have a lot of fluids in your body, you do have more of a likelihood to have to squirt in for it to be more than what you're used to. But basically what it is just kind of like a stimulation of the G spot, which leads to a female ejaculation. So it's not just straight urine. There is some diluted urine in it, but it's also mixed with other bodily fluids.
That's a good question, John.
Hey, I saw it on her show one day.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference between the orgasm of creaming and squirting?
So what do you mean when you say creaming?
You know, some women, like when they orgasm, they like cream out, you know.
Okay.
Heavy fluid.
Yeah. Heavy fluid.
So I think that more so, if I'm understanding correctly, I think that more so is just based on their level of arousal at the time. So it's kind of like depending on how aroused you are, there's going to be more fluid that secretes, if that makes sense. And then squirting is just something completely different in the sense that if you're squirting, it means that you've had a lot of G-spot stimulation.
Okay. Now, when you have various different G spots or are able to be touched or connected, so that brings a greater orgasm for the woman.
So you're talking about a blended orgasm. So there's different pleasure spots, which in the vulva, there's like the clitoris, there's a cervical orgasm, and then there's a G-spot orgasm, and there's multiple other ones. I'm sorry, my mind is drawing a blank right now. But there's multiple other ones. And so typically if women have a blended orgasm, which is a clitoral orgasm with a cervical or most commonly a G-spot orgasm, it tends to be the most strongest orgasm. So if a woman can have a blended orgasm, they're usually going to have like that earth-shattering screaming that most people think about when they think about a female orgasm.
Okay.
Let me ask this. What would you recommend for a couple whose the male comes up short and the woman wants more, but the man is just not long enough to do the full, but they to prevent them from saying maybe she want to go outside. What have you ever even came across or heard of some things like that where the woman says he may be too small or
so they have cock extenders, and so basically what it is it's a cock sleeve and you put it on your penis and then you just enter them that way, and so that helps.
Cock extension.
Yeah, they have those because there are some people who have micro penises and stuff like that. So yeah, they have
something. Is this something that the male straps on, or how does he secure it on himself? That's what I'm trying
I haven't looked too much personally into cock extenders. I would definitely have to go do some more research on that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I haven't completely looked at that. But yeah, there are cock sleeves and cock extenders that a man can put onto their penis to help extend. That's a good point. Yeah.
Dr. Harris' question.
Dr. Harris, yeah. So that's what I was trying to get at. Because what she's saying is correct. If you're talking about squeezing out the semen, that's when you said creaming, I thought about that. So like a cream pie is when you ejaculate in a woman and she squeezes it out. And that's
Not
usually what creaming is.
necessarily once he ejaculates inside her, because a lot of times that women start to orgasm, they start to cream as well. You know,
Release the fluids and stuff. Yeah.
release the fluids. So
Okay.
that's pretty much what I was talking about. Now, far as cock extensions, this is new to us, so I don't know whoever needed that, but or even thought of that. But if you're in a situation where you need a cock extension, isn't the game over?
I don't think so. Like size isn't everything. Size is not everything. You can be with someone who is hung like a horse and all they can do is hurt you and they don't know how to do anything else. And you
Uh-huh.
can be with someone who is may not be well endowed and they can be like the best sex you've ever had. So size does not equate to great sex.
Again, it's all mind over matter.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Now, do you want to be able to feel something inside of you? Yes. That does help with the pleasure. However, you don't have to be 8+ inches to show someone a good time in the bedroom.
So, where's the pleasure for the man with the cock extension? Like, because to me, that's something for a woman. Like, a woman she needs that cock extension so he can reach that G spot, right? So, how is that pleasurable for him? And on top of that, doesn't that play on his ego or his mental health that he really can't satisfy her and he needs to put on a cock extension to pleasure his woman?
So I have not looked that much into the cock extenders and the cock sleeves to actually know how it pleasures the male party as well. However, I will say, going back to what DJ KY said, it's mind over matter. So it depends on how are you showing up in the bedroom and seeing yourself as masculine. So if your masculinity is associated to the size of your penis, then quite naturally that'll play some harm to your mental health. And in that situation, like with any disability, I would think that along with getting your disability physically met, you also might need to do mentally. So going to see a therapist and getting help that way as well, because your masculinity should not be tied to the size of your penis, and that should not be impacting the pleasure you're receiving.
Well, you know what's funny? It's funny what that is, because now I'm thinking about, here's my next question to that, because we see a lot of women get implants and booty shots to enhance their physical look and things like that. I'm wondering, is there a male enhancement type surgery to make them look? Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I've heard of that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering what is the cosmetics for that, where they getting the skin from, or
it's
whatever.
A penis
I don't
pump.
know.
Yeah, so men can surgically have a penis pump, which can make their penis bigger.
Okay, yeah, the penis pump, yeah.
But
but even that got to air out sometime.
I mean, I haven't looked up penis pumps.
No pun intended.
I just know I haven't looked up penis pumps and how the surgical procedure works, but that is a cosmetic procedure that men can have to enhance their penis size.
No, I have heard of the penis pump. I actually haven't. I know some people with that, but I was just wondering. I mean, the actual
now
surface.
Hold on, Kay. So yeah, it says something about a disability. So a small penis is actually a disability?
Not necessarily. No.
Not necessarily.
I'm just saying that people have disabilities because we actually typically have we live in an ableism society. And oftentimes we don't think about people who have disabilities. And the disabilities that you have physically can affect how you show up in the bedroom and how you can receive and give sexual pleasure. So I'm not saying a small penis is a disability, but when you talked about that and how there are tools out there for people with small penises, I was thinking more on the scope of there's also people out there with disabilities that have to use different tools in the bedroom to help them receive pleasure and provide pleasure.
Now, also too, sometimes like when men, I guess, and women have intercourse, women vajayjays are bigger than the penis that is finna go in there. How do a woman keeps her private tightened? Is it the uni steams? Is it the vinegar and water? Is it the douches? What's the situation?
Okay, so no one should be douching. Douching is not good. That offsets your pH balance. You should not douche. And so the vagina is a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only time you see where women have issues is typically after childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different procedures as well as pelvic floor therapy and stuff like that that can help tighten it back up after childbirth. But it's a myth. Like regardless, I hate loose. People talk about people getting loose. That it's a muscle. It goes back into place. So you're not necessarily going to have that issues. Yoni steams are good. Typically, I've seen where it's been linked to fertility. It helps with fertility and stuff like that. But your vagina is a muscle. If it's loose, typically it's because you just had a baby, and there's different steps that you can take after having a child that can help tighten it back up.
Now, Lena says something about Kegels. What do Kegels actually do for you know what I'm saying, tightening of the vagina? And I don't know when douches went out, Angela. I don't know. We don't douche.
Yes, Dr. Harris is correct.
I still remember my mom's had the bottle in
right.
And that is not a good. No one should have been douching. But yeah, so Kegels, yeah. So Mrs. Lynn is correct. So Kegels is an exercise that you can do. It's just where you're tightening the muscle and relaxing it. So that's typically, and yeah, so that does help strengthen the pelvic floor, which can help strengthen the tightness of it. So yes.
I want to go back to what I want to put back up here. Miss C says sometimes you have to joke with uncomfortable conversations. A lot of people are uncomfortable speaking about sexual topics. Well, Miss C, if you think that we're uncomfortable up here, trust and believe we're not.
No,
I am not uncomfortable. I'm very at home because there's some things that I could be saying that would be rated X on here, but I'm a gentleman. So the point is there's a lot of research that's being said, a lot of knowledge is being given that we may not have known. And I'm very appreciative. And even though some things may sound shocking to get a reaction from, it's a great learning part of it. So I appreciate LaLa expressing this in very intricate detail, because this is what it's about, knowing to know and have a better understanding. Am I right or wrong, Jah?
Right. Definitely. When you're talking about the vinegar and water, that don't work anymore.
You should not be doing that. Like, you should not be putting anything. Actually, sorry. As a woman, you should not be putting anything in your vagina. Like your vagina self cleans itself, and if you put anything up there, it can lead to yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis. Like, you should not be putting anything in there. You can clean like your actual vulva, which is the outside of it, with mild and diluted soap. Dove is a good cleaner, stuff like that. But like feminine wash products, douching, you shouldn't be doing any of that. Like, that's not good for you.
So who came up with that to say that in the beginning is what
I'm not sure. I haven't done research. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna drop a bomb. It was probably some man out there that was like, here's something that women need, and they didn't have a vagina, and they didn't understand that is not something that
Okay.
Well, I mean, because they're still selling products on the shelf. Some are easy.
They are just like they still do feminine wash products, and they're really not something that you need to do. The Yanni steams, depending on if it's all natural ingredients, then it's good. I mean, it's fine to use. Like, and I know that they even say it's like a holistic thing for fertility as well. And yes, Miss Angela, it is. Men in marketing, you do not need to be putting anything in your vajayjay.
Well, we don't need to be putting anything in our pop.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, no, yeah, like.
Now, can you say or speak to what actually throws the pH balance off where it has a smell or things of that nature? Is it multiple partners, or is it having different things inside your vajayjay? Poor hygiene, things of that nature.
Yeah. So your pH balance can be set off. It's typically you can get bacterial vaginosis from having multiple partners. And then also too, there might be some men whose semen you're just not compatible with, and that can cause you to get bacterial vaginosis. STIs can throw off your pH balance. Not cleaning sex toys can throw off your pH balance. And then, like I said, using any types of soaps, douches, fragrant soaps, douches, anything like that. And then, if quite naturally, if you're going like days and weeks without showering and stuff like that, that can throw off your pH balance as well because of overgrowth of bacteria. And then also too, your menstrual cycle. Different times during your menstrual cycle, it can throw off your pH balance because your vagina becomes more acidic at different times as well.
Okay.
And
Now,
also too for black, sorry, I just want to throw this out here because I didn't know that until I learned is Black women are more likely to get bacterial vaginosis than any other race, and they've seen kind of where it's been linked to fibroids and stuff like that, which Black women are more prone to get. So, if you're constantly getting bacterial vaginosis, especially as a woman of African descent, as a Black woman, you should really talk about that with your doctor. And to Angela's point, not urinating after sex as well, that can throw off your pH balance and lead to UTIs. So that's definitely
okay. Now, what is the significance? Because I know a lot of people get this waxing thing now. Does that have something to do with your pH balance, or is just something that people do that they don't want to have the afro there anymore? They just want it.
yeah, that's just a personal grooming choice. It doesn't really have any impact on anything. The only thing that you have to be careful with is ingrown hairs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But that's just a grooming preference. It doesn't have to do anything. I will say there have been studies that show that when you have pubic hair, it works as an extra barrier to keep out different bacteria and stuff like that. And it also helps with your pheromones as well. Because I know people are talking about vabbing and all this different stuff. So that's also just another way for your pheromones to get out there and your sexual scent to get out there. But waxing has nothing to do with your pH balance. It's just more so of a grooming habit that whether or not you like to do it, and it's personal.
Okay.
So you just gotta ask yourself if you like the bush or the bald head. You know,
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Um, but, um, now also too, like, when is it that it became a thing to be more sexually free? Because I know, like, coming through the 80s and 90s, there were some things that were taboo. Now there's nothing that's off the table. So when did it become such a free and accepted situation? Because like oral sex was growing up, it wasn't something that you done. Anal sex wasn't something that was being
So,
done. Being pegged as a man was never on the table, or never
so
even
what I
discussed.
think it is this stuff was always happening. People are just more so for being in the forefront with it and bringing it more mainstream. I
Mhm,
definitely will say. I mean, you got to think about when like the first porn came out, like Deep Throat and all that stuff. That was during the 70s. Like my mom, I think she was in college in like the 60s or 70s, and she was talking about it was during like the sexual revolution and stuff like that. So
mhm,
more so, I think so, through technology and then just through younger generations having more information and just different stuff like that, that people are becoming more open with
mhm,
talking about it. I don't think necessarily it's something that it's just like a new thing. I think people too, with the changing in dynamics, with the acceptance of sexual orientations, and with us trying to get more on a equal playing field of women empowerment, we're
mhm,
having more and more open conversations about sex and sexuality. Like we are still quite naturally in like a patriarchal society where there's still a lot of pushback behind it. But
mhm,
I will say three of the biggest issues when it comes to sexual health is sexual assault. There's
mhm,
a huge rise in STIs, especially for this younger generation, for Gen Z and stuff. Like there's super gonorrhea and stuff like that, that which they used to could cure with different stuff they can't cure any longer. During COVID-19, there was actually a peak in adolescent sexual transmitted infections, which is between, they consider adolescents between the ages of 11 and 24 in the medical. So there was a huge spike in that. And then also as well, unintended pregnancies. So the
mhm,
best way to deal with those is comprehensive sexual health education and
mhm,
actually normalizing and talking about sex. So if we want to have more consensual experiences and teaching people about that and their body autonomy and stuff like that, that'll help lower sexual assault rates. If you want to have less STIs, you have to educate your children about proper sexual precautions because with anything there's risk, especially with sex. And then also with unintended pregnancies, you have to give people the information and you have to empower them with that. And that starts with talking about sex. And you should be talking to your kids throughout their life, and it should be age appropriate, comprehensive, like giving them the information, because what they've looked at, there's a study done, and it's people aren't having more sex at a younger age because of media. Like, that's not it. The first teacher for most children and how they do stuff is their parents and in the household. So if you want sexually healthy children that understand consent, that aren't getting STIs, that aren't getting pregnant at a young age, or just unintended pregnancies in general, you need to educate your children in the household. And it's totally fine. And by you talking about sex does not necessarily mean your kid's going to go off and have sex. You're just opening the conversation, creating a safe space. And plus, like, I interviewed Dr. Erica Clay, and she is an amazing gynecologist, and she said it best. She has patients that come in, she's like, and she tells parents, do you want your kid to be getting information from this 14-year-old boyfriend or 13-year-old friend, or would you rather them have accurate information from you? So sexual health education is super important. And I know, especially in the Black community, sometimes like there's lots of stuff we don't want to talk about. And we need to talk about it because a lot of these diseases and issues affect us at such a higher statistical rate. And we can help in that by just, talking about it more and having more comprehensive sexual health education and stuff like that. Especially since we live in a lot of areas where it's a lot of disproportionate stuff that happens where we don't get the services that our other counterparts get. So.
Well, LaLa, we done came to the end, and we still have some questions on the table. So, like they said, we would like to bring you back so we can do a part 2 to this. If I know I have some questions, and I think I'll be a little more comfortable.
Oh, definitely. I can, yeah.
LaLa, do you happen to have a copy of your book with you presently?
So I don't have a actual sexual health education book at this point in time. You can go on my website and you can have access to free blogs that do give this information out. And you can get that from www.lalasbedtimetales.com. Also too, I put out a lot of sexual health information on my Instagram, and I also have a YouTube channel where I sit down and I interview trauma therapists and gynecologists and physicians assistants to make sure we're getting this information out there. So that's also an area. The current book that I have right now is just an anthology of erotic stories. So if you enjoy erotic stories, hop onto Amazon, buy that book, show your girl some love.
What's the name of the book?
It's just called LaLa's Bedtime Tales, Volume 1.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you go on Amazon and you get LaLa's Bedtime Tales, Volume 1. Because I'm sure it's going to be hot and steamy. Definitely that. But thank you once again for coming on Real2reel360, and we look forward to rescheduling you to come back to do a part 2, because I definitely want to talk about a lot of these sexual assaults that are happening with our adolescents, and also too with our adults, because that's a subject that definitely needs to be addressed. And thank you for all the great information that you was able to share with us today. And at least I know that I'm more at ease with the conversation because of the delivery and everything else. So thank you for that.
Kay, thank you for having me.
Oh man, it's a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
Okay. You know what time it is, big bro.
Right. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all our followers, subscribers, and listeners and commenters who commented. I'm glad that y'all found humor in my commentation, but it's all good. And like I said, the best information is knowledge information. And so we take this and want to make sure you take this and educate yourself as well as your children with it, because the first thing you need to do is always be self-aware and self-care.
Definitely.
Thank you, Miss C, for coming on. Please keep going and coming, and don't miss out. All right.
Definitely like and subscribe, and make sure you tell a friend that Real2reel has that great information. Also, too, don't forget this week who we got. Calvin Richardson.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, to Allah's 5% nation of gods and earth, we say peace. To all the human families on the planet Earth, we give a high salute of love, peace, and happiness. And to all, once again, thanking our special guest, Miss LaLa for coming on and bringing up wisdom on the show, and we look forward to having her back. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you when we see you. Much love, grace in the place. Peace to everybody. We are out.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting to come to the end of the show, and now I want to take the time out and thank our guests for coming on. Also, too, we want to make sure that y'all listening and subscribing, and tell a friend and tell a friend, and keep sharing, because we're going to keep bringing y'all the real content. You know what I mean? So, DJ K-Roz, brother, check us up out of here, son. Hey. I want to give a big shout out to the nation of God for Earth. To all the human habitat and you watch the ride, don't you know, take my watch, listen to the show, every time we come on, I give a big shout out to love, the future man, woman, and child of the youth are not first. It's time for us to disperse. We bring the best, not the worst. We thank you once again for tuning in to the real 360. We bring a friend to hit that like and subscribe, so we continue to grow to bring more knowledge and wisdom to you. Upon our show, you make it possible for us to do what we do. Now it's time I end it just the way I bring it.